The great northern city of Manchester is known for quite a few notable things. The iconic weather combo of rain and grey skies, a national love of Greggs, a couple of terrible football teams, and an undoubtedly great contribution towards British music through artists such as the Happy Mondays, the Stone Roses and Oasis. But there's one band that lurks around the streets of Manchester with a solemn attitude, looking at beautiful flowers, and instead of being reminded of summer, are in fact reminded of the passing moments of a dying relationship, to which they let out a sigh and move on with their miserable day. That band, of course, is The Smiths. The group consists of poet and yodeling enthusiast Morrissey, real-life guitar hero Johnny Marr, and the other two. Outside of The Smiths, you might recognise Morrissey in more recent circumstances, for getting hug-attacked on stage quite frequently, alongside an obsession with tearing open his shirts. There's also some interest in his political beliefs, but let's disengage from that conversation immediately. With Johnny Marr, you might recognise him as the old man who seems to be playing real-life guitar hero, as he seems to be unable to resist joining any band on stage in recent times, and just jamming along. I mean, seriously, it's almost disappointing if Johnny Marr isn't brought out at a gig or festival now. But sadly, the Smiths disbanded back in 1987 after constant internal arguments. With all band members solidifying throughout the years, there's never any chance of them returning. But alas, we still have great tunes from the band themselves to go back and listen to. And what better way to cause even more bickering and arguments than to rank the albums themselves? As some honourable mentions, I want to state that I love Louder Than Bombs. But the issue with the Smiths is there's a lot of double album release / compilation releases that see either new songs or a few repeated songs. So, for the course of the video, we're only going to speak about the main 4 solid album releases. However, I can't help myself, so Louder Than Bombs is going to have a little arrow pointing to where it would be if we included it in everything, which is second place. But feel free to ignore that. That's solely for my own biased ego. So, which album is the champion of the Smiths' discography? Well, let's get on with it then. As always, video may cause saltiness. Coming in at 4th, we have Meat is Murder. Meat is Murder is a consistent and solid album, and I don't really have anything blaring to say about the album in terms of complaints or issues. I think the only reason this album is last is because for me it doesn't have any songs that really stand out or contact with me on the same level as the others. I always find this album an enjoyable listen, but easily one that doesn't hit me on any levels either. That's all I really have to say about the album, except for the actual song Meat is Murder is incredibly disturbing. Anyway, coming in at 3rd, we have the Smiths' self-titled debut, The Smiths. This album is great and it's always easy to come back to and listen throughout. You can really hear Johnny Marr's guitar riffs echoing their youthful exuberance throughout. With a playful and hyperactive joy to counteract Morrissey's over-the-top poetry, you can really feel the rawness on this album. And everything feels really over-the-top with long winding soliloquies channeled throughout each song. I think the album just lacks the edge that albums such as The Queen Is Dead has, which is just due to a lack of experience, as it was their first album. The album also has This Charming Man on it, which will have been a gateway song for many Smiths fans out there, including myself when I was far younger. Coming in at 2nd, we have Strangeways, Here We Come. When I do these videos, I make sure to go back and re-listen to all of the albums of the artist in question, just to make sure what I'm doing is accurate to my tastes. And I'm not purely operating from memory or nostalgia. And this is one of those times I'm really glad I went back and re-listened to all these albums. Originally, I was going to have the debut at 2nd and Strangeways at 3rd. But when I went back and re-listened to this album, it really blew me away and gave me a different perspective on things. You can feel the development of the band and the change of the Smiths sound on this one, while still echoing their classic style. And with hindsight, it's easy to say that this was just the individual members of the band fighting for their personal style to flare up on the album, and is ultimately what led them to splitting up. And to be honest, there's probably some truth in that, but at least they got a banging album out of it. I do think it's a shame that the Smiths split up after this album, because it would have been interesting to see where the band went, but at least they left it on a pretty good note, I'd say. I'm also really happy that I rediscovered the song I Won't Share You. It's one I'd completely forgotten about, and I'm going to use the forbidden words to describe this song. It's beautiful and feels full of raw emotion, and has returned triumphant to be one of my favourite Smiths songs. So, have I justified this album being their second best yet? Probably not. But alas, don't say I didn't try. And finally, sitting mightily as the champion of all Smiths albums, we have The Queen Is Dead. I mean, come on, was it really going to be anything else? This album is, and wait for it, prepare yourself because I'm about to say it. This album is a masterpiece. Yep, there you go, a rare word I'd reserve, but I can't fault it. Even with the songs that dip slightly, you do need them to take a break from the emotional turmoil this album sends you on. I feel like I need to start wearing all black suits, walking around Manchester, giving people a solemn look, staring, passing a fading smile, then returning, to my glumness, looking at how terribly sad and heartbreaking life is. But seriously though, this album is insanely good, and I struggle to find a Smiths fan that doesn't have this as their favourite. Agreed, maybe the guitar riff on Some Girls is a bit wasted, but honestly, I'm not even that bothered by that song, I quite like it. For me, Frankly Mr. Shankly and I Know It's Over are two of my favourite Smiths songs. Frankly Mr. Shankly offers a take on the classic pessimistic and hurtfully honest poetry that the Smiths do so well, packaged in a joyful jig. I think I Know It's Over is on my list of songs that are 10 out of 10. And believe it or not, I don't think many songs are 10 out of 10 at all. But the development of I Know It's Over alongside the capsulating lyrics and storytelling ending in the tragic repeated line of "Oh mother, I can feel the soil falling over my head" finalises the dramatic experience of this song. And to be honest, we could go on about the deluxe edition of this album, but I feel I've already indulged myself enough. So I'll restrain myself and leave it there. So, there it is. The Queen is Dead is the ultimate champion of all albums by the Smiths. Each of these albums are brilliant in their own way, and if you want to treat yourself but also ruin your own day at the same time, try listening to all four of them in the same day. Trust me, I love the Smiths, but there's only so much Morrissey yodeling one man can take. But if you're feeling extra brave, why not listen to all four albums and then proceed on to the double album compilation releases, just in case your boots hadn't been filled quite enough yet. But if this list fills you with despair and a desolate state of mind reflecting on the pointlessness of everything, then it's probably hit the exact mark that Morrissey intended all their releases to do. So do let me know if you agree or you disagree with these rankings, and what your favourite Smiths album and song is. And on that note, I think I'll say ta-ra for now, and I'll see you later.